from Tri-State to be Tri-State University will present on the social cultural barriers to migrant women's integration and the cohesion, focusing on how identity and belonging evolve in migratory contexts. Good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Sosan from Christ University. I'll be presenting a paper on migrant social cultural barriers to migrant women's integration and progression. As we all know, migration is a global phenomenon that we have been observing that reshapes the social, economic, and cultural dynamics of both the regions where migrants live and the host place where they settlement. While it offers opportunities for the personal and professional growth, it also has challenges that affect their societal evolution. Migrants contribute significantly to the economic development, cultural diversity, and social interactions of the place they settle in. However, these benefits often highlight tensions between traditional and modern values, especially when considering the unique challenges faced by migrant women. Migrant women, particularly those from India, encounter barriers due to intersecting factors like gender based discrimination, ethnic prejudices, social, economic, and cultural disadvantages. Many are employed in informal sectors as caregivers, domestic work helpers, which are undervalued and unregulated and often exploitative in nature. The lack of legal protections in these roles increases their vulnerability and limits their access to equitable opportunities for work and personal development. These migrant women face hurdles in navigating cultural biases and linguistic differences that can hinder their social integration and active participation in the host communities which they settle in. Traditional gender norms, especially which we can find in the South Asian society, exclusively in India, restrict their autonomy, mobility, and perpetuate marginalization both at home and in the society. Due to their gender identity of being a woman, this can increase their challenges. Migrant women face discrimination based on not only on their gender identity as well as on their culture and social identity. Uh, this can restrict their access to education, healthcare, and stable employment facilities. Patriarchal family systems in South Asia, as we see in India, it, it is deeply entrenched in cultural beliefs, impose caregiving roles to women, limiting their time and opportunities for contributing to the economy of the society. Informal labor markets where many migrant women find employment exposed to poor wages, job insecurities, and exploitative conditions. These sectors fail to provide the necessary accommodations and legal safeguards to protect their rights, reinforcing systematic inequalities and financial insecurities. This intersectionality of gender, economic, socio-economic, and cultural status highlights the compounded disadvantages these women face, restricting their mobility, upward mobility, and exclusion from mainstream opportunities. Language barriers and social isolation further make this a barrier to engage, which restricts their ability to engage with the host community. Ethnic networks, which they are part of, can be a crucial support for them, but it can also have can also deepen social interactions, social societal segregation, and limit broader social interactions and integrations. Skilled labor have marginalized and has caused a discrimination for unskilled migrant women, pushing them into undervalued jobs and reducing their chances for economic policies in reducing their chances for economic advancements and contributing to the economy of the society that they are part of. The absence of inclusive policies in education, healthcare, and labor perpetuates these inequalities. Labor policies often fail to address these unique needs of migrant women, leaving them undeserved and vulnerable in the place that they are migrating to and the society they are part of. For instance, the lack of workplace accommodations restrict their participation in formal sectors as well as informal sectors, reinforcing their exclusion. Despite these challenges, migrant women actively contribute to the economic growth and cultural enrichment of the whole society through the employment opportunities they get and as much as they can. They foster community engagement, social solidarity, mutual understanding, trying to bridge the gaps between the diverse groups. However, their integration and participation remains hindered by socio-cultural obstacles, systematic barriers, and discriminatory practices existing in our societies. Tackling these issues requires inclusive policies, community support, and grassroots initiatives that can promote interaction and reduce stereotypes and marginalization faced by women. Tailored strategies that address systematic inequalities and cultural sensitivities are essential for empowering migrant women and fostering their inclusion to the society which they plan to settle in and they migrate to. Efforts to integrate migrant women must consider specific social, cultural, economic, and structural challenges that they might face in the society. Structural norms and discriminatory systems restrict their rights, limit public access, and impede their economic progress. Workplaces often fail to accommodate their identities and their vulnerabilities. And the absence of inclusive community spaces can hamper their ability to build network and social capital. Structural barriers such as patriarchal labor systems further exclude these women from getting formal employment, relegating them to undervalued role in informal sectors. Addressing these challenges requires comprehensive and multidisciplinary approach. Theories such as intersectionality theory by Crenshaw and structuration theory by Anthony Giddens provide valuable frameworks for understanding the experiences of migrant women. Policies must focus on education, skills training, and anti-discrimination efforts to equip migrant women with the tools needed for economic mobility and social inclusion into society they plan to migrate. Accessible healthcare policy and affordable childcare support are also crucial in improving their well-being and enabling their participation in the workforce. Grassroots initiatives and community engagement play an important role in fostering social cohesion and breaking down the barriers and stereotypes. Language programs and accessible learning resources can help overcome education barriers, while inclusive healthcare systems can enhance physical and mental well-being by promoting workplace diversity, protections, and adequate accommodations. Societies can create environments where migrant women can survive in the place which they are migrating to and their partners. Integrating strategies that combine policy reforms, advocacy, and community involvement are necessary to dismantle systematic barriers and ensure equitable integration. Ultimately, the empowerment of migrant women, particularly those who are facing the disadvantages, is not just a matter of policy, but a reflection of society's commitment to inclusivity and social justice. To ensure this inclusivity and social justice, it is not only important to roll out the policies, but it is also important to make sure that these policies are well implemented. Their inclusion strengthens community bonds, enriches cultural landscapes, and contributes to a more equitable and cohesive world.
Now the floor is open for queries and feedbacks.
The chair can share her comment. Hello, good evening. So your paper tried to highlight the critical intersection of migration, social cultural dynamics, and integration challenges, particularly for female migrant workers in the unorganized labor. So it reflects the era of liquid modernity somehow. And you were talking about the absence of inclusive policies, community support. But I'm just curious to know what kind of inclusive policies or community support are you suggesting after the research or after your study?
Ma'am, I am studying in Bangalore, but at the same time, in near next to our campus, we can see a lot of construction workers, including women. And next to the place where I live in, there is a place like a certain area where migrant workers live. And we can see that while men therefore work, women are like mostly women do like household works. And there is a lady coming to my once who once came to my house for cleaning, and like she was not given wages by the owner of the apartment which I live. She contacted her many times, but wages were not given, and she was in need for wages because it was the Diwali time. So later, the before session, then I heard the papers presented by many people. They said that there were many policies as per the government. But I don't think the authorities ensure that these policies are implemented everywhere. If the authorities make sure that if these policies are implemented everywhere, there won't be situation like this.
So I was just asking what kind of policies do you have to
Policies
suggest?
like this, those women are uneducated, and the children in those households are also uneducated. So they can create policies like make policies for providing education to them, creating basic healthcare access to them in the area which they are living. Policies like that.
You could have added that into your paper. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Now I would like to welcome Vasudita Pratap, Research Associate at the Center for Women's Development Studies, New Delhi, who will delve into the livelihoods of migrant women in the Yamuna floodplain, highlighting their resilience amidst environment and social challenges.
Yes, now I'm audible. In the study, especially, I want to look at the women. They are locusts in the floodplain, in a family or in a larger family, and their livelihood option. But as we all know, that livelihood is not environment. And it has been observed in this study that women's livelihood based on seasonality in the floodplain ecology. Next slide. Thank you. So, according to Amita Bhagiskar, the initial influx of the labor hours in the floodplain was started at 1980 for the construction activity of Asian Paints in 1982, which led to prolonged settlement of approximately 1 million individuals in from the neighboring states. This research sheds light on the idea of Saraswati Haider's work in 2000 that women's migration is not the final decision of women, that whether she wanted to be migrated or not. Then a study of Kumar in 23 that emphasized the significance of the uh, our floodplain ecology, the how the migrants have come, what is their work there. So that is something called tenancy agreements, whether it is form of sharecrop or lease, as prerequisite for migration to the studied area. And the migrant family were often recategorized as tenant based on these agreements. Like, based on CWDA study, women migrants for family care, these particular type is known as associational migration, and it was a study long back with IJRC. And for the new generation, like the first generation of the floodplain dweller, when marriage migration is happening, because the first generation, the parents decided to bring the bride from their native village. The study is basically ethnographic in method and empirical, and we use open-ended questionnaire, participant observant method, etc. So on and so forth. Next slide. So the problem is Defining this concept as a migrant women of floodplain, this floodplain is locally known as Khada. And since the farmer of Yamuna River associated villages, there used to be so many villages of farming, farmer villages, and later on, these villages came to be a proper revenue estate. And those villagers moved on for a white collar jobs. And later on, but they want to control that particular patch of land. So many people they have contacted with their long distance relationship from the neighboring states. They bring them and they have a contract, which is basically oral contract, which is called lease, and they start living there. The total area of Yamuna floodplain is 97 square kilometer in Delhi. So it has a rich history, but 1948, that land was given for 99 years, creating a legacy that is now the subject of legal battle. Despite continuing payments to the Delhi Development Authority for the lease agreement, the inability to renew their leases post 2000 has complicated land rights for the residents. Owner has no land right, tenant became encroacher. However, they are the major vote bank of any ruling party. They have valid voter ID and Aadhaar card. Aadhaar card is one of the most important requirements for accessing relief or getting shelter in the relief camp because the embankment is prone to flood due to climate change. So, under this, I mean, these kinds of observation, and I have concluded the idea of adapting with uncertainties regarding this floodplain dwellers. Next slide. So, migrations from Western UP and Bihar largely, basically landless community are migrated. The Muslim migrants are from Uttar Pradesh, western side of Uttar Pradesh, and marginalized Hindu community are majority in this area. The communities belongs to they have a particular name which I'm not going to tell, but they are Hindu marginalized who are good in vegetable cultivation without any animal aid. Why migrated? The basic question is if there is a land, 5 bighas, and there are three owners, so they have divided this 5 bigha among the three sons, which is very difficult for three sons to stay in the village because the earning is not that much. So it is difficult to sustain. That's why two of the brothers are migrated. One in Delhi, another one is Mumbai, and the third one actually do the cultivation at the village of 5 bighas and earn his livelihood. So this is the main reason I have found during this interviews. If the one person migrated from the family, he will bring other families, acquaintance. So the neighborhood became from a same village, and that actually affects directly regarding women's mobility in the floodplain. There are respondents who are born in the floodplain and studied in nearby Delhi government school, and these are the first generation migrants. Next. Now the oral agreement regarding lease that was minimum 5,000, but presently the lease is 15,000 per bigha. 15,000 for per annum they have to pay. There are two seasons, mainly summer and winter. The vegetables are main source of their livelihood. The lean season, they engaged as an agricultural laborer in other lands or in nurseries to get the money from the for the tractor. Some owns more than 6 bighas of land and a tractor. They also earn money for the plowing, which actually the tractor charge 150 rupees per bigha. So it is observed that women of the house they actually doing some odd jobs like working in other land or collecting or plucking spinach from other land, and they are accumulating the money for their land for the need of the tractor. Husbands are actually engaged in other work. Here, there is no direct intermediaries. So there is no dalal in between. But in flood, then you will find many dalal who will actually asked many men that if they wanted to work in the construction site or they wanted to work as a security guard. So it is observed that they are moved on. The husbands are working in other sector, not in agriculture anymore, but the wives are solely dependent, are responsible for doing the agriculture and the flood, everything. So the smallholders, in case those men are not moved on, they are doing basically they are selling their vegetables to the nearby cities and societies in Delhi. Yeah. So other means of livelihood among men that is driving and definitely for women domestic help and teaching. Yes, there are some women who moved on who passed school and then able to manage university and being in college. So they are doing teaching job at the flat. Next. Here I will just drag your attention on the nursery owners whose land is located near the main road and the people buy plants from them, stopping the car, and they earn very well compared to the vegetable collection. They are not only manage their lease amount, but they are able to buy land in their native place, also the outskirts of Delhi for more nursery work. Early marriage is common. Since high school is nearby, every woman more or less passed class 12, but after that higher education, they have to move on. They have to cross the road. They have to catch a bus and then metro, which is difficult for them to think that a girl from our house will cross the street, go to school, and come back. Apart this is difficult. If you are wearing different types of clean clothes, and the idea is no, you cannot go there outside the realm of what we call the our ecosystem of floodplain. So it is not considered as very these are not acceptable. Apart from this, early marriage is common. Safety, as per their narration, is not an issue in floodplain, but outside in the main road, their point is it is not safe for women. The only day women of the floodplain travel together to bring the ration, that's the only wonderful outing they enjoy, apart from visiting their native place. So that's it. Thank you.
If there is any questions from the participants, you can ask it here. Okay, sir.
Regarding this, what you say about the livelihood, then I would say it's not an employment, it is livelihood. Maybe in summer they are engaged in some other work, but in winter it's something different. Or maybe together they went to someone's house for before Diwali cleaning thing. This is not a full-time employment, it's just a livelihood option. And they also help their fellow next door neighbor to help them to cut the spinach and all. So there is a communal feel. They have a community feeling, which is very strong. But as you said that regarding diagrams and all, it is everything in my major report twice. So yeah, thank you.
Now it's time for Jay's remarks.
really. So the paper explores the complex interplay of gender, migration, livelihoods within the context of the Yamuna floodplain in Delhi. What I felt is that it resonates with Arjun Abadre's concept of locality as a lived experience, where the urban migration of women is shaped by structural forces and lived realities. And it highlights the relevance of examining gender migration to understand broader process of urbanization and inequality in contemporary India. And recently, we have heard all these news, like the National Green Tribunal has asked Center to submit a status report on a plea filed by Akshardham Temple, like a committee to decide whether the expanded structure fell within the Yamuna floodplain. So, and how people are using the froth as a shampoo, and they're absolutely clueless of how dangerous they are. So, did you mention the sample size in here?
No, I didn't. My sample state is an ethnography and my sample size is 33.
30. So, can I ask you what were the methodological limitations of using a sample size 33 in drawing broader conclusions about their livelihoods and migration patterns?
30 because we have a very short time, and when we start one snowball sampling, we initially start snowball sampling from a highway, and we start asking them going till the proximity of the Yamuna. So that is how we start building network and collaborating with the people. And since it is ethnography, it will take more time. So more than 33, it is very difficult. But these answers we are getting from the respondent. And we also use another method that we have one FGD first or GD first. Then we observe that who are really interested to talk with us or who are really we are wanted to talk with them. So following them and like it's not that very easy to interact with them because they live somewhere where we cannot view them. There are so many highways and so many flyovers. It is difficult to look at their dwellings, their houses which are not even a pakka house. So it's very difficult. So when we were there, so this kind of contacts we built, and I think 33 we do justice for 33. Yeah, not more than that for this test.
I felt that the study's ethnographic methodology provides a grounded perspective on women's resilience and its challenges like eviction threats and urban flooding. Thank you so much. It was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I invite Junaid ul Shafi, research scholar at UML University, will examine bring the hostility, the impact of xenophobia on migrants and social cohesion in India.
Good evening, everyone. I know it's been a long day. I would love to go for something much more than beyond what others have already discussed with the issues which have been highly focused on Kerala or what some people now call Kerala. So I'm just going beyond all of those areas and just discussing some ideas which migrants are now facing across Australia. With the rise of global migrants across Europe and US, we've seen the rise of anti-migrant phenomena and across the globe now. And but there has been much focus to the US and to Italy and to some extent to the Eastern European countries like Hungary and others. There has been almost very little attention has been paid towards anti-migrant xenophobia, which is growing in India and its repercussions. To begin with, there have been multiple instances of this xenophobia in India, which has been directed towards migrants or particularly of those who come from vulnerable sections. Even in this year, in March 2024, there was a case of while migrants from Bengal were detained in Orissa, and they were asked to prove their citizenship as if they are the citizens of India. These were the migrants who had come from Murshidabad of West Bengal, and they were going to work in a part of Orissa, just next to the Bengal, despite they were accused of being Bangladeshi and other sort of things. Some were beaten up, some were tied up, and they were subject to various types of violence within the country, just next to Bengal, just to prove their sort of that they are the citizens of this country. So this very idea that xenophobia and how dangerous it has been, it has now not received as much attention in others. So my paper demonstrated the searching period of xenophobia against migrants in India, shedding light on how rising anti-migrant sentiments increase the social divides. Despite contributing significantly to urban economies, migrants are increasingly scapegoated for broader social issues, facing widespread discrimination, hostility, and violence. While international migration is frequently recognized for its economic benefits, the social and cultural tension it generates remains often overlooked. Migrants, especially those from different ethnic, linguistic, or religious backgrounds, are frequently subject to suspicion, hostility, and more insidious forms, including exclusion and marginalization, which ends at times with systematic violence and often with a direct violence. But before going beyond, I would like to define how I put xenophobia. Xenophobia, despite its pervasive presence in societal discourses, remains a concept of moral ambiguity and lack of uniform definition. Etymologically, the term is derived from the Greek word xenos, meaning strange or foreign, and phobos, meaning fear. In the Oxford Dictionary, it means something a dislike for foreigners. As how the scholars across disciplines have their own ideas of xenophobia. For instance, Branson defines xenophobia as fear of difference, embodied in persons or groups, highlights its psychological underpinning as a response to a perceived dissimilarity. Others conceptualize portray xenophobia as an attitudinal orientation or hostility against non-natives in given population. So while a sort of a person who is a non-native in a given population, a sort of hostility towards them has also been termed as xenophobia. From W from international labor organizations to others, they argue that xenophobia represents hostility towards strangers and all that is foreign, which may include their culture, idea, other sort of things. And it manifests in our attitudes, our prejudices, our behaviors. They reject, exclude, and often vilify persons based on the perception that they are outsiders or foreigners to the community, society, or what we consider national identity. What is often in the discussion on xenophobia is ability to disguise itself as patriotism, rendering intolerance a deeply, seemingly acceptable part of national identity. In many countries, in particular India, particularly in some parts of India, xenophobia it comes sometimes with the cloak of patriotism, otherwise nationalism, and sometimes group some sort of other sort of identities, and it's mostly direct against others. So, I the roots of xenophobia, particularly in India, is the politics of outsiders. If we explore xenophobia in India, there's something what we call the idea of outsiders, which is mostly manifests towards internal migrants. While cities have traditionally served as hubs for migrants seeking better opportunities, rapid urbanization and demographic shifts have cultivated as concerned insecurity and competition among the rural population. This heightened competition for employment, housing, and social services often increases resentment, especially when migrants are perceived as competing for limited resources, thereby stoking fear of hostility towards them, which at times end up in physical and structural violence. In 2008, Ravi Naik, the then Home Minister of Goa, expressed opposition to the establishment of a direct train link between Goa and Bihar, claiming that if we establish a direct link between Goa and Bihar, all the beggars from Bihar will come to Goa. So such sort of normalization of comments against fellow citizens, while a home minister of a state is calling beggars and other sort of things, it gets much more on sort of thing. To what Priya Desika argues that migrants, most of the times, they come from lower socio-economic strata and are among the most marginalized, particularly in their ability to exercise their rights as Indian citizens. Unlike other sorts of things, migrants come from one of the most vulnerable groups. This group includes men, women, and children from Dalit communities, Adivasis, economically disadvantaged, artisanal classes, certain religious minorities, and other vulnerabilities. So migrants represent at risk facing significant challenge in accessing public services or other basic services in most urban centers. They need official documentations for programs and with the growing political crisis in India, at many times the whole idea of who is a migrant and who is not, and who is a citizen itself comes sort of things. This reminds me of this old instance when I was working with a slum in Bangalore. So they had one slum where people from Assam and other sort of people were residing, and the police would come to them, detain them, and accuse them, despite being had all the documents, that these are Bangladeshis because their limit or their idea of Bangladesh does not represent your idea of how should an Indian look. So these things get much more influenced in other sort of things when we go for imprisonments and other sort of things. We are seeing that this is directed against people who come from northeast and other parts towards those in India. We have seen the same resentment against the people who come from northeast. Those the women coming from northeast have been called chinky, and most of the other racial names have been directed against them. In 2012, there was one of the students from northeast who was beaten to death in large Patna market after he objected to the racial slurs and other sort of things, which pointed towards the extremeness of the social and physical violence. But it has its own intersectionalities. We have seen same level of xenophobia and other sort of marginalization in Assam, while violence directed against migrants, who there are the Bengalis, or what some people may call migrants from Bangladesh, or migrants whom the Atomic society considers outsiders, and which in the past have ended up in massacres like Nimi, and at present we have one of their India is home to one of the largest concentration camps in Gopalpura in Assam and other parts of it, which are directed at what the state calls disciplining migrants or putting those people whom the state has or the society has relegated to others and putting them in not in prisons because they are not criminals. So we have put them in concentration camps where they live a life of positive citizenship or the question of righteousness. The manifest, this many develops manifests in many multiple things or gets exaggerated in politics. I'll just refer to a few examples how it is to be God working politics study. Shiv Sena in Mumbai used their own politics against outsiders, what they consider to be the migrants from Bihar and UP. In Ghaziabad in UP, recently the migrants from other parts of India were attacked, claiming that their jobs and they are Muslims, other sort of things. In the recent in Haryana, one of the migrants from West Bengal was attacked and beaten to death because the mob state believed that the person may have consumed beef. All the laboratories later on proved the person had consumed chicken. This in the same society, other sort of things. The person thinks they end up with much more things. And these laborers come outside cities and these cities. And it is because of them that most of our cities, urban cities, they function properly. They are the ones who clean them. They are the ones who work in waste sectors. They become livable. For them, these cities are in their mostly strangers in these cities, and they have been unable to transform themselves as good citizens. And which is this one xenophobia directed against them, disrupting the social cohesion of urban centers. We should ideally serve as spaces for intercultural engagements. Going on ahead, I would just love to see that xenophobia, other sort of things, violates multiple of the constitutional and legal rights of all of those things. But to fight xenophobia, particularly when it comes to the migrants, we need to address many of all of those things which give rise to it, which could be limited competition of resources, the growing scarcity, lack of jobs, and we have to go beyond this policy of not working of it. The xenophobic practices such as racial profiling, denial of access to public services, unfair treatment, public proceedings, violate the fundamental rights of all the citizens just because they were parts in other parts of the country, or they are working in other parts of the country, or they were born in other parts of the country. Addressing xenophobia also requires taking its underlying causes such as economic deprivation, unemployment, and competition for limited resources. Although my paper is wrong, I would just love to conclude with this. Xenophobia, most of this migrant debate has not attracted as much attention as like others. To find the same, we need much more strong policy interventions, supported by other sort of legal interventions, while no person should succeed after bullying a migrant, whether it is in a north of Karnataka or somewhere in Tamil Nadu or somewhere in Delhi, and then enjoy the legal immunity of, and or at the most time they end up getting much more progress in their political lives. So it needs much more serious efforts. Thank you. Any
Now,
questions?
now the forum is open for queries and feedbacks. Now it's time for Jay's remarks. Sorry, we have a question. I think we have a question. We are all managed this xenophobia. People who is different from governments and right, most of the times, like it, this is where I'm going to festival and people reaction. So we have to see how it is run this
Instrumentalized. That's interesting.
Mm. So yeah, people try to underscore the urgent need to address the growing wave of xenophobia against migrants within India, a phenomenon that threatens the nation's socio-economic fabric. And we have heard that identity is constructed through difference. And it resonates here, as migrants often become scapegoats for societal challenges, amplifying divisions. And it highlights how huthering perpetuates systemic inequalities and hostility. But can I just ask you that what type of targeted interventions and policy reforms could effectively address anti-migrant sentiments and promote social inclusion, particularly in urban settings? And are there any existing models, either within India or globally, that could serve as benchmark?
When it comes to these models, we are globally. South Africa did some of the successful models after the apartheid regime, while they intermarried blacks and whites together to some sort of extent, and some sort of global intervention models have been successful in some of the Scandinavian countries. But comparing to the socio-economic conditions and the idea of identity difference here, I think we need much more an Indian devising model. To do it, I'll just give few examples how we can see. For example, in most of Indian societies, I'm referring not to the Indian society broadly, I'm referring to this new construct of colonizer society where we have this mushrooming of private societies and residential complexes. So they will deny people accommodation within them, even if you are in capacity or even on buying an apartment or you are renting it, based on your choice of food, your bachelor status, and times your religion, which is often your caste, so which may enter emerge the question of vegetarianism, militant vegetarianism, or your other sort of status. So any sort of practice by these private individuals to regulate individual life should be banned. Although which is illegal today due to a specific judgment by Mumbai High Court, which has not been challenged yet, which is sub judice before Supreme Court. Then give you one example. Second, in most of these urban areas, we have seen the complete stratification, segregation. If you are outside, it's very difficult to get accommodation, other sort of things in specific areas. So we need much more policy interventions while we make it equal playing ground for outsiders and insiders. Third comes to this question of language, other sort of ideas, where we need much more intervention. I'm a strong payment opponent of Hindi inclusion, but we must also remember there are other languages about people who are live here. Maybe the migrant speaks Bengali, he may speak Assamese, he may come from the tribal belt of Jharkhand, while there are other sort of their language need to be preserved. Fourth, when it comes to education, can you provide policies while a migrant child comes to city, give them admissions? If, if there's a person who is citizen of India, the burden is on the state or not. It is not on a migrant or a poor person to say that I am the citizen, I have all the documents. It should be always as process, it should be on state. And all of those police personnel or others who take action against them, or they have direct violence to them, or structural violence, there should be some sort of action towards them. And biggest of all, we much more agree alignment of a new political dialogue. While this weaponization of identities, and while some identities are by every possible and every day mass media and other sort of things are targeted, they end up in violence.
We are in short of time, we have to wrap it.
Yeah, I will just say that are some of those things, and maybe beyond that we can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it is time for our online presentation. Am I audible to the online presenters? Please, please respond. Please respond if you are if I am audible to you.
Are you guys audible?
Okay. So I would like to outline the timing instruction for each presenter. The first warning will ring at 8 minutes. Second warning bell will ring. Two rings will follow at 10 minutes. Final warning bell will sound at 5 minutes. So now I would like to welcome Kajal and Rashmi Pal, PhD scholars from the University of Delhi, which shed light on undocumented migration in Delhi during COVID-19 and explore this experience through the lens of gender. Yes, Rashmi, you are on.
ഞാൻ ഹാപ്പി നീ അത് പറയുമ്പോൾ മ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാതെ
Rashmi, can you please put the volume a little bit higher? Can you please increase the volume? Okay, you can press it right now.
എടുക്കില്ല അതൊന്നും ചെയ്തില്ല എന്നത്തെ പറ്റിയ സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ മൈക്ക് എടുത്ത് ഇറങ്ങുണ്ടാവും സ്പീക്കറിൻ്റെ അതിൽ വോളിയം ഒന്ന് കൂട്ടി നോക്കി സ്പീക്കറിന്റെ മൈക്ക് ഉണ്ടാവണം സ്പീക്കറിനെ വിളിച്ചാൽ വെച്ച് നോക്കി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എൻ്റെ മുറിക്കുന്നത്
Rashmi, you are audible now.
Undocumented migration and heavy duty COVID 19, the latest news analysis total everything. So as people actually so this is undocumented migrants who have migrated from Delhi to the
പിങ് ചെയ്യാം ഒരു പിങ് ചെയ്താൽ മതി പോസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തല്ലേ സൈഡ് നമ്മളുണ്ടല്ലേ നല്ല അവിടെ കാജൽ ഇത് കാജലാണ് നമ്മൾ
these unfortunately migrants were disproportionately impacted. In every NCR, lockdown measures with a massive influx of undocumented migrants returning to their villages due to job losses and economic uncertainty. This particular research includes challenges these migrants face in urban areas with a special focus on how gender and social expectations will be experienced. Next slide. Project. I tried to share the slide of you.
തിങ്ക് ചെയ്തു
So I'm talking about the action. So migrants, when you see this law in 2016 mentioned that over 100 million individuals migrate from India to places of origin and other destinations to have their lives and lives. As per the research that we showcased, in Delhi, 50% of the population originates from three states, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and West Bengal. Majority of those actually left the city for employment, with almost 70% of the families less than 20,000 rupees now. And it also attributed to the factors of landlessness, inadequate industrialization, and high population growth, as social and economic. Um, as the pandemic exposed without significant of undocumented migrants, these undocumented also greater than related to the policy and support mechanisms, which leave them now bear the brunt of economic inclusion. Furthermore, it's difficult to achieve inadequacy, address the gender dimensions and intersectional challenges faced by teens. So our research is trying to fix this by providing a nuanced understanding of the field experiences. So, this is we are trying to investigate the experiences and coping mechanisms of undocumented migrant migrants and to examine the gender, environmental, and intersectional as per the medical care strategy is nature and the gender the intersection of this different and very strong the gender is there and participant included and the field like gender is participants for selected by cognitive form. The thematic analysis was employed to explore the key aspects including gender classification and intersectional. So moving on to findings and discussion, because the pandemic caused a widespread lockdown in documented Yes, in particular, even psychological distress also. He struggled to meet the societal expectations of being the provider he did carry. And is inability to fulfill the traditional roles, often led to feelings of vulnerability and stress. So that one of the main migrants mentioned that he has to set that he can afford the mobile phone, the smartphones for his children so that they can continue their studies online. With that, one of them also shared the psychological distress that they become so into the fact that he's not able to provide bread for his family during experience.
You're audible, you can continue.
When they were going back to the hometown, important of them. Mobility and autonomy and because they can have to out and also contribute financially in their home. Because here vacancy and they are working at outside in many households and were also contributing financially to the society. With that, one of the people also mentioned that she was not able to go out during lockdown. She was at home. And she, due to the fact that she was not able to go out, she was not having the money that she can contribute to something for her. With that, responsibilities for women also increase. These countries not only limited their access to opportunities, also amplified their vulnerability to social harm pressures during the pandemic. So the third thing is also industry discrimination. As we know that individual, as an individual, do not just have one identity as a male or female. We also have the aspects of different social beings as we the social economic condition and where we come from, what is the background of ours. So the field intersection and communication and social theory of talent. All these factors contribute in the identity of the individual and also
Rashmi, this is your first one. You can continue.
the strong
You can continue.
so these intersecting forms also contribute to discrimination based on their gender, their legal status, and social economic. So this triple burden is a period is these are periods from rural background and these are periods from rural background from socioeconomic, low socioeconomic communities. This triple burden often leads to fewer teachers with their coping mechanisms and further deepening the marginalization during the crisis. So this pandemic has amplified the existing discrimination as a marginalization in the COVID. Within two years coping strategies, despite the challenges, undocumented migrants will not take their dosages. They rely on informal networks and collective solidarity to navigate their crisis. When given recognition for the discussions, they mentioned that they can each other emotionally and emotionally also be there for each other so that they can cope with this challenging phases in their life. And the gender roles also influence the coping mechanism with women often feeling on social connections and men also seeking informal employment opportunities. Fathers take over overcoming that.
Kajal, this is your second warning. You can continue.
And social problem background and Muslim culture. Their difficulties. Particularly uninvited migrants were discarded, and the lack of and further increasing their responsibilities to diverse progress and time. They were not able to navigate through the process. So, again, the gender impact and the intersection of multiple forms of discrimination are often overlooked, pointing to the need for more focused attention on this. Next slide, please. So, the second page is the slide. So, the nature of these findings leads us to the conclusion that the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated significant inequalities faced by undocumented migrants, highlighting the critical role of gender in shaping their experiences. This gender influence access to resources and coping strategies with both male and female migrants navigated challenges in different ways due to societal patriarchal norms. And further, maybe women's voices, however, remain underrepresented in migration studies, as we all go through different kinds of education happening in different ways, leading to a lack of attention to their
Kajal, this is the last warning.
of undocumented migrants and policy framework for
Kajal,
migrants. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
we have to conclude it.
Yeah. So this research emphasizes the urgent need to address these intersectional vulnerabilities to create inclusive, gender responsive support systems and offer insight to the timely policies that determine the immediate experiences of undocumented migrants. Thank you so much for patiently listening to us. Thank you so much. Samantha, if you have any questions, you can answer.
If you have any queries, you can ask it right now. Okay, moving on to ma'am. You can share your comments. Hello, am I audible? Am I audible to you? Rashmi and Kajal? Am I audible to you, Rashmi?
Yes, ma'am. The voice is echoing off.
Actually, we have lost some parts of your presentation. Apologies for that. And think your paper vividly illustrates how COVID-19 pandemic amplified pre-existing inequalities, particularly for undocumented migrants in urban areas like Delhi. Arundhati Roy aptly described the pandemic as a portal, highlighting how crisis expose societal vulnerabilities and inequalities. And actually, based on your findings, based on your conclusions, what are the key elements of a gender responsive policy framework that would effectively address the unique challenges faced by undocumented female migrants in India? And how can these policies balance immediate relief and long term integration, as well as you had mentioned triple burden, and how did it balance the triple burden for that? Please. Anyone can answer, Rishmi or Kajal.
So, and this is also that also the cure of business is going to launch to different this could give multiple burdens.
Okay, please share that.
So, when we are actually trying to talk to have chosen the participants when they were doing today's environment lab. So, when they came back, then we tried to come up to actually create a responses and things. So when I say triple burden here, talking about the triple burden and discrimination which has happened with them. So because we in the patriarchal society, we have all the evidences and all the resources of India in every complex patriarchal society. So because most of the people from Eastern Turkey and Bihar, so those particular societies were patriarchal and with that, we were able facing already the half of discrimination. With that, in rural area, we were very much, as I was mentioning about restrictions are imposed on them. So they were coming from very socio-economic background, and with that, I would also like to mention that they were from a lower caste, so it was lower caste. So this in way, this inequality imposed the burden on them. You know, unit first, the second one was in the in for rural area where there was no lack of resources for them, and economic background, it was also difficult and challenging and the challenging to sustain and support. So that is how the media government were imposed on the children. And we are not totally say that the government of the responsibility will not only to be because they were given to go out and try to find the work in unorganized sector to sustain their livelihood and to contribute financially for the food basis that to meet the day-to-day basis so-called daily living. So that's how we people moving from this art.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Next, I would like to invite Impin Ushiruddin SK, research scholar, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, presenting anti-migration attitude in India. Ushiruddin, am I audible? Yes, it is. Yes, it is visible. if it is visible. No, Shubhi, this is your first warning. You can continue. Hello? Did you conclude the session, your presentation? Did you conclude your presentation? Shubhi, can you text in the message question? You concluded. Okay, thank you. If the participants have any questions, you can ask it now. Now the chair will share her comments on the presentation. Am I audible? Okay, we are moving to the comments of the chair, and you can share your comments. Thank you so much. Am I audible now? Am I audible? Ushan, Ushanuddin. Hello? Am I audible to you? Okay. The presentation was good. And like you said, nationhood and identity as are socially constructed, and when narratives of us versus them. Can you hear me? Yeah. The challenge. Can I talk now? So, what I felt that in your presentation, the challenges faced by these migrants, like ranging from economic precarity to physical threats, it was not clearly mentioned, but your paper tried to highlight the critical need for policies ensuring safe working environments and the role of social media in amplifying anti-migrant sentiments. And that's all. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was the last presentation of this session. Now the session is over. Dinner is arranged at the guest house by 7:45, and the cultural program will begin by 9 p.m. at the first venue, which is this seminar hall. And on the second day of this national conference, which is tomorrow, the presentation session will begin by 9:30. So you have to be present there by 9:20 or 9:25. So thank you. Enjoy your day.